Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Build Your Copywriting Business podcast. Hello, friends.
Hi. Hello.
As always, I am joined by my extra super sensational. I need to come up with some adjectives. I should have a list,
Yeah.
really.
I'll provide one.
Co-host.
I will provide you
Yeah.
with one. Yes.
Wow,
An approved
helpful,
list of
helpful.
adjectives.
I am here with my very helpful co-host, Kate Sachars. Hello, Kate.
Hello, hello.
Hello. And Kate and I have the pleasure of being joined today by CCA student and copywriter extraordinaire, Stevi Cochran. Hello, Stevi.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Hello. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
And we're, as always, but especially excited to dig into your story because, spoiler alert, we're going to talk a lot about, or at least some about nonprofits. And I know that that's very interesting for a lot of students, and we have a lot of very wonderful giving people who think, all right, how can I also incorporate that into what I do for a living? So I'm excited to dig in. And that said, what is your background and how did you get into copywriting to begin with?
Yeah. I'm psyched that that's what we're going to be talking about, because that is a lot of what I get most excited about to talk when I'm talking about copywriting and talking about really anything having to do with my whole career experience. So I actually got my degree in creative writing. So I was always on the writing track. That was always the thing that I knew I wanted to do. My degree was in creative writing and theology specifically. I wanted to be a novelist / youth minister. Like, don't we all? Yeah. So that was kind of my track. And I learned pretty quickly that I don't have a teacher's bone in my body. So youth ministry was not the path for me at the time. And I knew I wanted to write, but I didn't really know what that meant in the moment. I didn't know what that meant for short term, how I was going to make any money at it. And my boyfriend at the time who's now my husband, was already established in his career in Indiana. I was living in Milwaukee at the time, actually. So every time I hear you talk about Milwaukee on the podcast, I'm always like, it's like my second home. I love it. So I was trying to get to where my boyfriend was in Indianapolis, because he was already established here with this very stable job, and I had a writing degree and no plans. So I was like, yeah, Indiana sounds great, cool. So I kind of bounced around a little bit, just getting jobs that paid my bills, got me settled. Nothing was really the career. It was always a job that would get me to where I was going, but I didn't know what the career was going to be. I didn't really know why. I just kept saying, I want to be a writer, but I don't know what that means. And then in pretty much from like 2018 on, things moved at a very, very, very quick clip, I'll say. I was at an office job in 2018 that I wasn't happy with. I was trying to kind of find my way out of it. And in 2018, the company closed and I got laid off, which was what it was, was what it was. So I was looking for new jobs, and something in me was like, if you don't start trying to freelance now, you're never gonna. I was like newly married. We were in our apartment, and I had this time sitting here that I was like, if I don't do it now, I'm going to get a new job and I'm going to just not do it. And so I pretty much made that decision. I'm going to start trying to figure out how to be a freelance writer. And almost immediately after making that decision, I got a job offer from a nonprofit that I really wanted. It was really well suited for me. It wasn't writing, but it was really well suited for me, and I kind of couldn't turn it down. And the plan was always, it was part-time. So my plan was always to do that and then write on the side.
Yeah.
So I got this job offer. I started the job. Almost immediately after starting the job, I got pregnant. So I then went on maternity leave. I came back from leave in January of 2020. And we all know what happened in March of 2020. So I was at work for all of 2 months, and then with a new baby, and the pandemic happened. And then about 2 weeks into lockdown, I found out I was pregnant again. So I went
Congratulations to both.
Thank you. But my circumstances from when I started the job to all of a sudden being in 2020, having 2 kids, a mortgage, a pandemic, all these things that were not in place at the time. And I just felt like I needed to, the job I was in was just not fitting the circumstances I was in, and wasn't fitting the needs I had in the moment anymore. It fit when I started, and I loved it, and I felt very supported by my company, but it wasn't what I needed at that time in my life. And so we're kind of figuring that out. And again, we're home, and then I went back into the office, but I had a daughter. I was pregnant. I was trying to figure all of this out. And my husband said, well, you've been wanting to figure out how to write. So go forth, go figure out how to write. I was searching for some writing courses, trying to kind of figure out what that was going to look like. I think I had seen, I think I'd seen Filthy Rich Writer somewhere in my sphere. I don't remember where, to be honest, but I had like gotten in the email list and it was kind of on my radar, but I wasn't acting on it yet. And then I saw during all this, I saw a Facebook ad, as we all do, or Erin's story about leaving teaching. And I wasn't a teacher, but I was mom to a new baby during a pandemic. And that spoke to me really deeply. And so I watched that video. And then there were two other ones, Amy and Brittany. I think those were the three like main, like OG testimonial videos on the website. And I watched all of them probably 20 times each, because I just felt like I had sought out these other courses and I kind of looked into it. And this was the first one where I felt like, oh, this is a blueprint. This is really something that could happen. Every course I'd seen before that, I was like, it kind of felt like, okay, well, how do I get writing? How do I get writing jobs? Well, find a subject that pays well, which is usually finance or tech, and learn everything you can about it, and then write about it and get someone to pay you. And I'm like, okay, cool. What? And this is the first time where I felt like, it just felt like I was like hearing from real people who were doing the real thing with real other factors in their lives. But this was the first time I felt like, oh, I remember saying to my husband, I could really do this. This seems like, it just felt so much like every resource was there. Like, here's how to learn how to be a great writer. Here's how to find the clients. Here's how to build your brand. Here's how to file your taxes. Here's how to do all of the things that you will need to do. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can do this. This looks like something I could do. And I exhausted all of the free resources. And I think it was New Year's Eve of 2020 or New Year's Day of 2021. I don't remember. I think it was New Year's Eve. I bought the course and said, all right, I'm going to do this. And I had a month left on maternity leave, and I just plowed through the first, I think, 4 modules. I think I did 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 on maternity leave. And I came back to 5 after I got back to work and got settled. But I told my husband, I'm leaving my job in 2022 one way or another, because either A, I will be established enough as a writer that I can supplant what I'm making part-time at a nonprofit, which arguably was not going to be super difficult, but it was still, I still had to do that. Or B, I'm not, and I have to get a new job, because either way, daycare is expensive and this is not covering it. So that's why I tried to plow through the modules as quickly as I could. I took a second after I got back to work and was juggling 2 kids and work and all of that to kind of get my bearings and then get back through it. And I like to say I started my business in March, by which I mean March was when I started telling people that weren't my mother that I was a copywriter. That's when I started like pitching and started reaching out to people and letting people know what I was doing. So I thought I'd say I'm coming up on my 4-year anniversary then, in that case. March of 2021.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Oh, what are you going to do to celebrate?
Good question.
Probably finally get through Pitchapalooza, if I'm being perfectly honest, because this is the first year I haven't done Pitchapalooza since I've started. And
I was talking like cake, taking yourself out to dinner, and you're like, I'm going to go do more work. I love it. That's so good. I love it.
Might do something. I don't know. I might do something, but yeah, it's the first year I haven't done Pitchapalooza since I've started. The client that I was working with, we were getting a lot of trying to get our feet under us from the holidays.
Yeah.
And I have to sit down and do Pitchapalooza. And I just haven't had a chance to yet. So
it's a good reason not to, though, to have client work. So
right. Yeah. So yes, that's how I got into CCA.
I love it. That
started copywriting.
Good for you. And I love
some of that answered your question. Some of it didn't.
It was perfect.
All right.
And I love the New Year's. Like, okay, no, I'm starting off the year fresh. And
it was, we were cooped up at home, like stuck in our house, out of state from the rest of our family during the holidays, and with these 2 little babies. And I was just figuring out what was even happening with the world. And I'd watched every free resource you had a million times. And I finally said, I think I need to do this. It's a bit of an investment, but it's something I have to do. And my husband was like, if it's going to make the money back, I'm like, who cares if it's an investment? Like, we'll make it, it'll be fine. And so that'll be a theme through all of this. My husband has been the most supportive through all of this. So
we love that.
My husband said that. So my husband said that. He's been very supportive through all of it. So
That's
important to
fantastic.
have,
Yeah, that is really important to have.
Yeah.
And so you came back and certainly getting your bearings is
Yeah.
no small feat with 2 small children and being back in the office.
Yeah.
How did you kind of arrange that transition to to March when you went, okay, I am beginning my business? How did that kind of look? I was going to say mentally, but maybe physically as well. How
Yeah.
did you make that happen?
What's changed over time, which honestly is the biggest blessing of doing this. I mean, more so than the financial freedom, it's just being able to pivot as much as I need to has really been the blessing through all of it because it's changed a lot. So I went back to work. I was kind of working on it at night. I had secured a couple of writing projects, one of which led to my first retainer client, which was fantastic. And I loved working with her. I worked with her for a couple of years. And that was, I think, maybe a year and a half, I think we worked together.
Oh, nice.
And I got a lot of really great experience with her. So I was working on her stuff and just trying to build up my portfolio and finally putting together my website because I started pitching before I did my own website because
Good
the hardest
for
person to write
you.
about is yourself. So
Yep.
I was just,
Truth.
no matter how many client projects I took on, I'm like, but what do I say about me? I don't know. So I was just kind of chipping away at that. And like I said, I'd made the decision 2022, I had to get through a full year at my company. First of all, for just the financial stability, but also part of me was kind of like, I started here, I got pregnant, I went on leave. I came back, I got pregnant, I went on leave. I had not done a full year here yet. So I just need to know that I spent from January to December in the building.
Yeah.
So I did, but I don't know, I was doing okay getting it done at night, but I'm not great at, I feel like when I've got a lot of things going on, I'm just constantly trying to figure out like, where's the next place I need to be and what am I not doing? And I'm constantly feeling guilty about what I'm not doing. And so I remember I got to like October of 2022 and I was complaining about something with work. We were getting into like the peak of our busy season. And I said to my husband, I was complaining about something. And I said, I'm just worried that if I don't leave now, I'm never going to leave. Because all these factors that were falling into place. I'm like, I know based on how I fit into all of this, it's going to be 5 years and we can't afford that. And he just looked at me and he goes, so leave. With like a record scratch. I was like, what did you just say? And he knows me. He's known me for over half his life. He knows that if I hadn't thought about it, I wouldn't have said it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that I was even saying it meant I'd been thinking about it for a while. And he said, you've got work coming in and you're consistent and like, I trust you. If this is something you have to do, I support you. He's like, don't leave tomorrow. Cause like, don't be that guy. It's the busy season. Don't be that guy. But get through the busy season and then let's do this. And I was like, okay, let's do this. And so I came back to work. We finished up the busy season. I came back on January 2nd and gave my notice and was out I left my company in February of 2022. So, and left on good terms and everything. It was great. I still talked to my team from there. So it was great. So, but I did leave. And then that's a long-winded version that feel free to edit any of that out.
Perfect.
There's a lot going on there. But so I was working at night, left the job. Then I was doing 3 days a week, fully at home while my kids were at daycare. I had the kids home with me 2 days a week. I was working on the business 3 days a week, which was going great. I wasn't bringing in the work as quickly as I had maybe hoped or as that would require.
Mm-hmm.
I basically was paying for 24 hours of daycare and working 10 hours a week. It's essentially what it's getting down to. I was doing the work, but I wasn't getting enough work to be worth having the kids at daycare that long.
Yeah.
And so, which I think is fine because I know myself, I have some health issues. I get overwhelmed pretty easily. I didn't want to burn out. I didn't want to overwhelm myself. So first of all, knowing the first couple of years of your business are going to be a drop in the bucket at some point. So I'm like, I know it feels rough now, but in the grand scheme of things, you're still in the first year of your business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, it's so wonderful to hear all the stories in CCA of everybody who got, supplanted their income in 3 months or they escalated so quickly. And that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay if that wasn't the trajectory I was on, and that was fine.
Yes.
I built slowly. I built at the pace that I needed to keep myself sane and healthy and alive. And just all the factors came together in the way they needed to.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working those 3 days, but not bringing it as much work as that would require.
Mhm.
And we had said, there's that time frame would allow, I guess. And we had said, we had a family vacation booked in August. And we said, let's get from February to August. When we get back from vacation, we'll take a look at things. And if I'm not at a certain income goal by then, we will assess.
Mhm.
I'll apply for a new job. I'll, go back to bartending or waitressing a little bit of whatever we got to do. And I had been thinking about it for a long time, came back from vacation. And I said, there's nothing we're doing I'm doing during the day that I can't do at night and on weekends. So I said, rather than me trying to go get a restaurant job and us trying to balance the you on days and me on night schedule, we're sort of doing that. I said, I propose that we take the kids out of daycare. I will stay home full time and I will build the business at night and on Saturdays. And the reason is because if I am home with them all day, I don't mind handing them off to you at night.
Mm.
But when I'm trying to work during the day, then have the kids, then work at night, I just feel like those are the dishes I haven't done. Those are that's the laundry I haven't done. I haven't been with the kids enough today. There's all this house family stuff that I would feel guilty for not addressing enough, or even if I did, I would never feel like it was enough. If I'm home and able to be present with the kids all day, then at night it's dad time and mom works. And so that was my proposal. And he said, okay. And we took the kids out of daycare and I then went back to the night shift. So that's what I've been doing since like Labor Day of 2022. I've been doing that. I've been home full time with my kids and then working around their schedule, which again, as I was alluding to, that's the beauty of CCA and the beauty of being able to freelance and having this freedom that this has given me. More so than the financial freedom, it's even the being able to build my schedule around when the kids are home. Mm-hmm. So we started out, I said at most we have a year of this because my daughter was going to start preschool soon. And I said, okay, we've got at most a year because then one's going to be gone and then two will be gone. Mm-hmm. And I also, I know there was also a small part of my head that was like, am I going to be one of those moms who's like, I wish I'd done it when I had the chance and that I didn't and I lost the time and now we don't get the year stack and all this stuff. So there was also that, but I had that in my head when we started. So I was fully at night while my daughters were both home. Then one went to part-time day preschool and one was still home. And now I have one in full-time school and one in part-time school. So I've been able to audible again. And so now I'm back to the 3 full days because they're both in school. So I'm back to, I get them up, I get them ready and out the door for school. I then work all day. I get couple things done around the house here and there during work. And then I pick them up. And then on days where my youngest is still home 2 days a week. So on those days, I still work it just because she's home all day and it's hard to work when she's home. So I will usually work at night on those days. And I typically don't work Saturdays anymore unless I have to. I'm always able to. If I have to, I can plan around it. But I'm trying to ease off of that now, especially when they're both in school. I'm trying to be able to have that be the 4 of us time because we get so little time, the 4 of us together. So yeah. So now that's what it looks like. It's changed a lot over the years. It's been up and down, but I've been very lucky to be able to make those pivots as I do too.
I love that. And thank you too for sharing the detail of it.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people think
I'm a chronic oversharer.
No, this is so
wonderful.
helpful.
No, thank you. Truly. Because I think a lot of people think, all right, well, but sure. Okay. So then I have the kids sometimes and then I'm working sometimes and then but how does that actually work? So I really appreciate you actually breaking it down and it's going to be different for everybody, right? Everybody's going to have different types of help if they have help and in different, family situations and all that kind of thing. But I think it's really helpful to see how it can work out. And to your point, everybody's business trajectory is going to be different and everybody's time requirements are different. And it's so helpful to see how it kind of shakes out for all kinds of different people. So thank you for that.
Of course. And with that in mind, everybody's version of success is different too.
Yes.
Like, am I reaching, I know we usually get to this, you guys usually get to this later. Like, am I hitting 6 figures yet? No, maybe someday, but am I right now? No, but I am making enough to pay for my kids' school tuition and I can take a day to go work at the book fair if I need to. Or my daughter had her Valentine's Day party last week. I was able to go to that. If the kid got a fever, and God willing, most parents are able to just like leave work to go get their kid when they have a fever anyway, because
Maybe.
you have to do what you have to do. But I don't have to answer to anybody for that.
Yeah.
I get a call from school that says, hey, she's got a fever. Okay, I'm 5 minutes away at home working for myself. I could just go and get her, and I can fit the work into my schedule later on.
Mm-hmm.
So I can adjust that with my husband, and he'll be like, okay, well, I'll duck out a little early, and then you can get an extra hour of work in, or whatever we have to do. I'm able to build that around them, which is really helpful. And God bless everybody who's able to, homeschool and have their kids home all the time and teach them and also be copywriters. I've heard writers in the group who are able to do that. And I'm like, good Lord.
I don't talk to one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I work when they are asleep or not home.
Yeah. Yeah.
But good for you for thinking too. Like I love your long term, but also the kind of shorter term planning of thinking, this is just the first year of my business. This is because I think a lot of people can't think past that. So I appreciate you sharing that element, but then also looking at like, okay, January, February through August, and we'll reassess, and looking at those shorter blocks and looking at like the seasons of your business as well. And like, okay, now it's shifted because now I have one child in school, so I can have this, this is what it looks like. I think it's so helpful for people to kind of be able to think both ways. And I think sometimes we get stuck in one way or another.
Hey there, it's Nikki. I wanted to take a very quick minute to make sure that you knew about our free on-demand copywriting training. Now, whether you are brand new to copywriting or you've been doing it for a while, but you just can't seem to hit those income goals, this training is for you. You are going to learn the 3 secrets to landing freelance copywriting work without relying on frustrating job bidding sites like Upwork or Fiverr, or without cold calling strangers. And if you've watched any of the student success stories on this channel, and if you haven't yet, check them out. This is the exact same training that they all started with. And I mean students like Kate K, who is making 6 figures working part-time and retired her husband to help her build her business. Students like Stuart, who replaced his full-time salary, which was a good one, with his freelance income and then some. Stacy, who hit 6 figures in her first 6 months as a freelance copywriter, and Ashley, who landed the in-house copywriting job of her dreams. They all started with this free training, and you can start with this free training too. So sign up right now at freecopywritingtraining.com.
I've always had a lot of respect for people who have, when they're, and especially though, like getting out of college, and all my friends were trying to figure out what we were doing. People who would, you try something, and if it doesn't work, that's okay. We pivot to something else, and immediately being like, okay, that didn't work. Plan B. All right, plan C. 46 letters in the alphabet. We can keep going. So as opposed to like, okay, this is, as opposed to, getting the job that you went to school for, and then it doesn't work, and you're like, okay, well, now what do I do?
Yeah.
I've always had a lot of respect for the ability to pivot, and this has given me a lot of opportunity to do that. So been great.
And
been great.
Done it well. Well, and the 6 figures is great, right? Like, hey, great. Anybody who gets that,
absolutely
great. You get that going, great. And if you were to able to do that on top of all the stuff you already did, it was sensational. But it's only one. I don't even necessarily want to call it a marker of success, right? But it's one example, one benchmark, or one example of something that people might find valuable.
Right.
But there are also so many other aspects of our lives to mark, and quite frankly, probably the amount of money that you're making that one makes is not an especially great marker of whether or not you're happy.
Well, it's the why behind it, the why behind the financial goal, which I appreciate you sharing it.
Thank you.
You paid for the tuition for your child to be able to do it. Like that's a great why.
And that's, I needed that when I started CCA, and I was like, okay, what do I want my financial goal to be? And I set a number, and it was a number, and it would mean more financial stability for us, but it wasn't the number. It wasn't like, it's just like we talk to our clients, like, but why? I need to do this so that what? Like, I need to hit this number so that what? And I didn't have a so that what specifically yet. I was like, so we have financial freedom. Awesome. Which is very valid. Absolutely. But it wasn't like, I didn't have a tangible thing to glom it onto. So then when the kids started school, I was like, okay, I know that tuition is going to cost this much for this year because, this one's in school this much and this one's in school this much. I need to make at least that much because that is, to me, my benchmark, that I want my income to cover that. the return on investment is comes so much quicker than anybody I think realizes. So like, why not try it? It's like, if you're going to try it, then, I mean, with the way that people are as nicely as people are willing to pay copywriters, you're going to see your return on investment really quickly. And then it's just another skill in your tool belt.
Mm-hmm.
Done.
And then you have
I
the
love it.
bonuses on top of that.
Absolutely.
Being able to spend quality time with them and being
Yeah.
able to go into school when you need to
Yeah,
and
put a
want
price
to.
on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always tell the front office school, I'm like, I will be here for every volunteer thing you need. Will I be 5 minutes late? Probably. But will I be here?
Yeah.
Always. I will
Yeah.
always be here.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it is, and yeah, I love it.
And it's
Yeah,
and it's
stressful sometimes, but
Yeah, really. What, parenting is stressful? What are you talking about?
I just remember when I first left my day job and I started doing this full time, and I had a lot of people were like, you're feeling so much less stressed now that you're not there during the busy season and everything. I'm like, I'm not stressed. I need that to be clear. I am running a business and raising 2 children. I am not stressed. It is
You
stress that I would
didn't have a business. You're raising 2 children. Full stop.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It is stress that I would not trade for anything in the world,
Yeah.
but it is still stress.
Yeah.
So
You have 2
it's a different
jobs.
kind of stress. Different kind of stress.
Yeah, exactly. Except, well, that's going to be life anyway, right?
Yeah.
And how fortunate to be able to choose one's stress.
Mhm.
There's some people that
Absolutely.
aren't able to choose their stress.
Absolutely.
Better to be able to choose it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm curious if you can share, just coming from the nonprofit world and caring about social change and wanting to make a difference in the world, how have you incorporated that into the work you're doing as a copywriter?
Honestly, those are the clients that I gravitate to a lot. I've worked with clients in a couple of different fields, several different fields, but I keep coming back to nonprofit clients. I've worked with several of them at this point. I'm working with one right now, and I really love it. When I was in my degree program and I figured out I was not going to be in youth ministry. I was like, okay, what kind of ministry do I want to do? And I started kind of exploring the social justice route and the nonprofit route and thinking, oh, like this is cool, but I also want to write. And, when you're in school and you're 20 and you're like, I like these 2 things. How do I put them together and get someone to pay me to do it? And I am. I have people paying me to take the 2 things I like and put them together and make them a job. How did I do that? Magic. I don't know. So, wish from a genie, but yeah, so I'm really loving those kind of clients. I like to be able to, I find it really fulfilling to be able to use the copy techniques that we incorporate and using copy skills to present a brand's mission and that kind of tie in the emotional storytelling of the people that we're serving. And yeah, I'm trying to come up with like a good actual answer, but I just always really had a heart for nonprofit work and really gravitated towards it. And so now to be able to work with nonprofit clients and write copy for their mission is the dream. So
That's fantastic. Yeah. I know that's the perfect answer. I love it is the perfect answer. Yes. I think sometimes when we think about creating, being a copywriter, being in our careers, I think it can be easy to forget about the impact that our work has.
Yeah.
And it's a bit easier to remember when you're working with a nonprofit where you can actually affect their exposure and affect the donations. And it's a little easier to forget about it, I think, when you're writing with clients, writing for-profit clients. But there's also is still that impact as well, the helping their companies, helping the people that they help. And
yeah. And that's kind of why I was, when I went to say helping the mission, I don't want to discredit that, for-profit companies still have a mission. And I think that's the focus on writing to the benefit that we talk so highly about or talk so much about in CCA is a good reminder of that. When you've gone to, when you've approached copywriting from that lens, it makes it easier to see that in other businesses, I think, and other clients, because for-profit or nonprofit, we're all trying to make people's lives better with this. Are we trying to make money? Yes. But the thing I always think about when I'm approaching a pitch or a client or whatever, I'm like, you have a thing that you are really excited about and that you're really passionate about, and you want other people to be passionate about that too. So let's find a way to say it that says like, hey, I want you to love this like I love it, and I want this to change your life the way it changed my life. And I think that message can fit a lot of different types of businesses. So
it really can. Well, and I have to say too, from the client side, when you have a freelancer who comes to you and says like, hey, you are passionate. Let's infuse this passion into what you do. It's so, it's such a wonderful feeling as a client to
Yeah.
have someone to work with you who wants to share that excitement with the world as well. So just your clients are already probably raving, but just in case you forget every once in a while,
Oh, thank you.
I'm listening to you describe this and imagining being a client and having you sit down with me and say, all right, let's dig. Like it's such a pleasure to work with someone like that.
Yeah, thank you.
Like you,
And it's really fun for me because I've experienced clients where I'm like, that's what you do? That's so cool. Like, why did I not know that that's what you do? Like, let's tell people about that. That is so cool. And so it's really fun to be able to see the things that people have been passionate about enough to make a business out of it. And being like, wait, that's something I wouldn't have even thought about, but like people need that. That's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that's the best trait as a freelancer when you care. When you
Yeah.
care about whatever it is that you're doing, whoever you're working with, it just really, it shows. It shows when you care about the work, but the mission, because then you care about the work even more than you probably do.
I feel like it shows in my pitches too, because even though with the pitching strategy, it's not that the pitching strategy feels like it doesn't feel disingenuous. That's the whole point of it, is that we're coming to people from a genuine place and not just asking people like, pay me please, like trying to give a real benefit.
Yeah.
But I struggle sometimes with like making sure that my pitches sound like they're not robotic. You know what I mean? Like they're not,
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure they still sound genuine. I know they sound genuine, and I know I'm overthinking it, but I feel so much more at ease when I come to a pitch organically,
Yeah.
as opposed to this is a company I really want to work with, and I see that they have this need, but like just, I don't know, it feels like cold pitching and like warm cold pitching almost. Does that make sense? Like,
absolutely.
It feels different when like this client that I work with right now. It's a friend of mine runs this company, and we got one of the emails, and I was like, hey, they like could use some help with the CTA. And honestly, my husband said it because I've brainwashed him, and he's watched me do this for 4 years now. And he at least once a week comes to me while I'm in my office and goes, hey, I hate this podcast ad. Can you tell me why? And he'll play me a podcast and be like, why does this ad sound horrible? And I'll put them like, oh, it could be this and this and this. Okay, got it. So we were reading the email, and I said, oh, this seems like something that I could help them with. And I just shot over an email. I was like, hey, I love this email. I love what you guys are doing. I just noticed something in getting the email that we get because we are engaged with this organization. We were talking about it. I later found out that he had the day before said to his web guy, who's also a friend of mine, they've been talking about something. He goes, gosh, I really need to get somebody writing these emails for me. I just don't have the time. And then I just was like, hello, here we go.
I love it.
Well, and that's what that outreach is, right? Is you're providing like, yes, it happened to be in that moment, like a wonderful serendipity.
Yeah.
But just being there presenting yourself as a solution. Like, hey, I love what you do. I would love to help you do it better.
Yeah.
And I can be the person who helps you do it better.
And that is the whole message of the pitching strategy that you guys give us. And I love that. I think I need to make sure that I'm approaching it in the right way of like, I put people on my pitch list because I saw a need, not like I find a business that I want to work with, and then I'm like trying to find something to pitch to them. I worry that I sound like a robot. I probably don't.
Yeah.
Probably don't. But I've also seen brands where I'm like, hey, I just engaged with this brand and saw an opportunity, or somebody I know saw this, or if I see something out in the wild, and then before I can even think about it, I'll just like send over a pitch and be like, hey, I saw this. This is great. Done.
Yeah.
And those are probably some of my best pitches.
Yeah.
I feel like those are my best pitches because I feel like they're coming from a place of real time experience and real time need. And I feel like that comes through in my writing a little more. Otherwise I overthink it way too much.
Well, and they're going to be the fastest and the easiest to write as well, because you have the inspiration in the moment. And if you take action on the inspiration, then boom, it's out there in the world. And I think this is a great way of going about it, because it also just naturally gets you reading the copy around you and paying a little bit more attention to it, because there are more than enough companies to pitch if we actually just look at the things that we encounter on a daily basis and go, oh,
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's definitely the that's probably the better way to say what I'm saying. It's like, because I feel like when I put my pitch list together, I'm like, okay, I need to send this pitch now. What am I going to pitch about? I'm going to pitch about that. How do I phrase that? I feel like, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, because
You're
the
in a
pitching
different zone, I guess, of
right.
like,
That's it. I'm like, it's
yeah,
just like what my mental
yeah,
zone is. And I'm
yeah,
like,
Mhm.
yeah,
I know what I
yeah.
need to do and I know how to make this pitch great, but I, I'm coming at the interaction cold.
Mhm,
Mhm.
mhm.
Whereas
Yeah.
if it is more of an organic interaction, then the cold pitch doesn't feel so cold. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like that. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
yeah.
So you've given so much good advice, but do you have any, particularly thinking of parents who
Mhm.
might be looking to get into copywriting, or frankly have started but just trying to figure out, how do I do the thing? Any advice that you would give to people in that space?
Um, oh, gosh, good question. I mean, we've kind of touched on it, but just really figuring out the way that it works for your dynamic,
Yeah.
because trying to fit a square peg into a round hole is not going to work. Trying to figure out, like, this is what I think it's supposed to look like, and then that not
Yeah.
working is not is just not going to work. Like when I was talking to my husband about taking the kids out of daycare, I can get a second job and I can work on the business and raise the kids and do have a second job, and you can have your main job and raise the kids, and we can do all of that. But I know myself, and I will be so focused on the things I'm not doing that I will never scale up. I need to give myself the space to scale up, and I need to do this in the framework that works for us in order to be able to be the best parent I can be and be the best writer I can be, and make all of it work together. So just, I mean, so much easier said than done. I know I can sit here and be like, figure out what works for you. But, um,
I think it's good
but
advice though, because I think experimenting, and you've kind of shown that of how the different ways that you experimented, given the where things were
yeah.
in life, and with, I think it's helpful, because I think sometimes we want just a very clear, here's the answer, but in a case like this, it's
Well, and I think
testing
with,
lots of things. Yeah.
yeah. And I think with parenting, it's a lot of that too, is
Yeah.
just, there's so much needing to be open to, um, being open to things needing to change and being open to the unexpected, because that's all parenting is the unexpected. So that's being it just, I guess my advice would just be being open to what that will look like, and knowing that it might not look like what you think it's going to look like, but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean it's not having your why, and having your concrete why, but having an open mind and how you're getting there, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I guess that's how it worked for me. Like I still remember the first night that I had two pictures on my phone at one point. I then it was silly, but I had two pictures on my phone. It was the first night that I was working nights and the kids were home with me. And both in separate times, both my kids had come in the office and like come over and sat on my lap while I was working. And sometimes that's not great, because sometimes like, mommy, let me look at pictures on your computer. I'm like, no, we're not doing that right now. No, but my kids are cute because they have a little like art table that usually lives in our kitchen, but they moved it into my office. And my daughter will be
working.
like, mommy, my daughter calls it her studio. She'll bring in her coloring book and she'll go, Mama, I'm going to work in the studio with you. I'm like, okay. And so now when I'm working and she's like, Mama, are you working? I'm like, yes. So if you want to be in here, you have to work in the studio or you have to go upstairs with Dad. Like those are the options, because I can't have you sitting in my lap looking at pictures of cats on Google Images while I'm working, because I have to get this work done. But at any rate, at separate times they'd come in and just sat in my lap, and we'd taken a picture on my phone both times. And I had both pictures on my phone. I was like, this is why I do it. And it's not always going to look clean. It's going to feel chaotic sometimes. I remember when I first decided to do it, and I had texted my boss from my old job, because we're all still on a text chain. We talk pretty regularly. And I said, hey guys, like, big news. I'm taking the kids to daycare. I'm going to be home full time and work at night. She's like, that's awesome. Also be careful, because that is a bigger undertaking than it sounds. And it sounds like a big undertaking, but like, don't get burned out, because she's like, I've done that. And it's hard to,
Yeah.
it's hard to, maybe not hard to set boundaries, but easy to forget your boundaries and easy to
Mhm.
let it all pile on. And she was right. So figuring out that, like, being open to changing how you have to do things in order to find that balance and find those boundaries, because like I said, it's not always, there's going to be times when my kids are climbing in my lap, and there's going to be times when there's not. But yeah.
Well, and actually, just speaking of boundaries, because as you were talking about, saying to your daughter, okay, but not right now. You can't be on my lap right now. But what a nice, gentle way to teach boundaries to your daughter. It's, it's not. When people have closed doors, that's great. If whatever works for them, but also just to be able to say, like, no, this is mommy's time that she's working, and you can be here, but you have to be over there. It's such an important lesson for a child that mommy is her own person, and mommy does not just focus. Mommy loves you, and mommy will focus on you when it's your
Yeah.
time, but now is mommy's time. And so it's such an important lesson, and such a beautiful and kind and gentle way of teaching it.
Yeah.
I
Closed doors.
appreciate that. And it's been hard for me too, because I feel like I need to, as a mom, I feel like I got to kind of be doing everything around the house. My husband is very involved and very supportive. I don't know why I put this on all of us. It is totally a me thing. But
do
I
the
have
same
had to
thing. It's
learn,
very
like,
relatable. Yeah.
I've had to learn, like, we have especially when I was working fully at night, we had a system, like, dad gets home, we had dinner as a family, and then dad does like bath time and bed prep and all of that stuff. And mom goes in the office and the door will be closed. And when it is time to go to bed, we will go get her and we will come upstairs and we'll say our prayers and we'll read our story and we'll do the good night routine.
Yeah.
But for this chunk of time, like, it is dad and mom gets to have the door closed. And my kids are not always thrilled about that. And when they're outside arguing and I feel like I got to open the door and go be part of it. And finally, my husband had to say to me, he's like, you're making, like, it doesn't make it easier when you leave like, we need to leave the door closed. We need to set the boundary, because if we cross the boundary, then we open a can of worms.
Then they know it works
Yeah.
to
Then
find
they know
outside
it
the
works.
door.
Exactly. They know it works. And so, like, I need you to help me draw that line in the sand. I can handle it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I know you can handle it, but he's like, no buts. Like, I will handle it. And if I need you, I will come get you. But we need to let them know that this time is important too. Your job is just as important as mine. And we need to let them know that. And so we've had to have a lot of those kinds of conversations and a lot of that communication. And I've spent a lot of time with my daughter. She'll come in my office and go, Mommy, why do you have to work every night? And I had to start saying, I work at night so I can be with you during the day. Because if I don't work at night, I don't make money. And then I have to go get a job outside of the house, and then you have to go to daycare. But if I work for these couple hours while you're taking a bath and going to bed, so that during the day we can go to the park and we can go to the museum. We can do all the fun adventures that we have. We have so many great adventures and I love them so much. They're so precious to me. And that's why I do this at night, so I can do. And is it clicking yet? I don't know. She's 4. Is it clicking yet? We had to have a conversation several times, but I'm hoping that they'll look back on that and realize that was
Yeah.
important. So,
This is
but it's been drawing the boundary line has been difficult for me as well. We've all been figuring it out together.
but good, truly kudos to your communicate. Like, this
All
I
we
feel
do
like
is
this
talk
is
in our
also
house
a
all the
master.
time.
Oh, I love it. It's so
Yeah.
great. Like,
So
great
good.
communication. Oh,
My parents
fantastic.
constantly tell us, you two talk about things so much more than we did when we were your age. You two talk things out so much more thoroughly.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
lived
maybe
in
you
different
used to do
states for a
too,
very long
Mom.
time. It's all we do is talk. I always say my husband went to school in Central Illinois at a state school, and I went to a very small school in Milwaukee. So we were constantly apart. All we could do was talk because we weren't together. So we were just on the phone.
Yeah.
So I'd say we got really good lessons in communication because it's the only choice we had. We either communicated or we didn't date. So
Well, it's
Yeah.
good. It sounds like, and but it sounds like it's paid off quite well.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the other. March is 4 years of my business and 13 years of my husband being together. So
Oh, congratulations. That's
Thank you.
fantastic.
I hope you're not
Thank you.
watching Pitchapalooza for your anniversary at the
no, I won't be.
yeah. Allowed for your
No.
business anniversary.
No,
but
because
not-
our wedding anniversary is later in the year, so we don't.
Perfect.
It doesn't count anymore. So
Yeah. Doesn't count anymore.
he's always like, we have a wedding date. That's our anniversary now. It's fine.
Fine. I think you should celebrate both. Why not?
I'm not fine. Like I'm also just personally always looking for opportunities to have cake. So
It's
you know,
exactly,
just-
Yeah. Well, his
Yeah.
birthday's tomorrow, and I bought cake mix today, so we'll be
There you
fine.
go.
Yeah, like we'll have cake.
so excited for you.
Yeah. My husband used to have a boss like that. That every opportunity to have cake, there was cake. I'm like, I appreciate that. Office
Yeah,
cake is
good.
a great thing.
it's great. It's just such a nice surprise. Yeah,
Yeah,
bring a little bit more
absolutely.
office cake into our home offices.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm
I also
saying.
started baking recently, so I was never a big
Oh,
baker. And then I laughed that when we first moved in together, I'd be like, I don't know how to cook. You're the better cook. And now he'll come home and I'm like, I made scones today. Like, why? I'm like, I could. Because I had a little thing of yeast left in our baking area or baking shelf. And I'm like,
yeah.
make scones.
Well,
Remember
and
when
you
I
had
that cook?
right, like check me out now.
Yeah.
But you also had the mental bandwidth for creativity,
Oh,
for
totally.
trying something new, which is
Oh my gosh.
fantastic.
That has been, I was just talking to because like I said, I have some health issues. I was talking to my doctor about this the other day. I was like, I feel so much more stable because there are 3 full days where the kids are at school and I can focus on my business. And then when they come home, I can focus on them. And I don't feel like I'm pinballing everywhere. And that just, our house is loud, it's chaotic and it's fun, but I still feel much, much more stable that way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That makes
It was
sense.
when we came back from winter break and everyone was trying to get their 2025s in order. I still had my kids home for a week for winter break. And then we had a snow day, the first day of
Of
back
course.
from school, we had a snow day. And I was like, I have not sat down and like done any of my 2025 planning. I've just been like reacting to everything business wise. I've not been proactive in anything. I've not planned anything because I've just been trying to like keep everyone in the house and get us ready for school. And now everyone's at school and I can actually do my thing.
Breathe.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of tangents I'm going off.
No, I
No,
love
no,
it.
it's
This is
great.
wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Well, Stevie, this has been so helpful, and I hope inspiring too for people. I think it's so interesting and just really inspiring to see how you have made all of this work in your life, and you are clearly thriving, and your kids are thriving, your family is thriving, and your career is thriving. And it will all the proportions may change as you go through your career and your life and all of that kind of stuff, but it's such a testament to you taking action, and but also evaluating what works for you and what works for your family. And that's not always an easy thing to do. So you really deserve a lot of credit for doing that. And thank you for sharing that too.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you guys for everything you do with CCA because I feel like I didn't have that type of control over my work life and my work life balance and all of that before this. And I when I first started running my business and everything, I think that was the thing that stuck out to me the most. First of all, that I was being paid to write, which is the thing I always said I was going to do, and now I am. And I'm like, what? Somebody asked me at a event at my church, oh, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a writer. And I
Writer.
stopped. I was like, I'm what? I just said that out loud. So that was huge. But the a really impactful part of it is just like knowing, feeling like I have I don't know, I take ownership of my career a lot more than I used to. I think I've always been at jobs where I show up, they ask me to show up at a certain time and do a certain thing, and I would, and then 2 weeks later they give me a paycheck and we start the whole game over. And now I am the person who handled all of my books, and I handle my, well, I mean, as much as I who's not an accountant can, but I'm in charge of all of the components of building my business because I'm the only one here. So as a result, I'm more in tune with all of that, and I'm more in tune with my work-life balance and how things work in my business that I never really used to have to think of because HR always said, and now I am HR. So there's just a lot more ownership over my professional life since then. So thank you guys.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
Yeah.
You did all the hard work. So good for you. Yeah.
But you guys gave us the tools, so thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. And actually, before I forget, if anyone is listening and they're thinking, "Ooh,
Mhm.
Stevie's fantastic. How can I work with her?" How can someone find you?
You can find me on my portfolio site is copywithcochrane.com, Cochrane with an E at the end. I would say Cochrane with an E, Stevi without an E, is how it's spelled. So Copy with Cochrane. And I'm on like Instagram and Facebook. I don't update it a lot because I always feel like I always go to do my social media and then I'm like, there's probably a thing I probably could be sending a pitch in that time, or I could probably be doing something else that is probably more
Wise advice.
more productive because I know I will sit and mull over an Instagram post for forever. And then I won't send pitches. but
You
I
know
am on there.
yourself.
I'm on Stevi Cochran Copy on Instagram and on Facebook, so and on LinkedIn. So
Perfect. And
all
we'll
of
we'll
that.
put the show notes. Yeah. Put in
Yeah.
the show notes. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Stevie, thank you so much for sitting down with us today. We really, really appreciate this. I hope this was fun for you because it was a lot
It
of fun
was,
for
yes.
us.
Yes, thank you so much. I had a great time. So
Thank you. Thank you.
thanks.
And with that, we will catch you all in the next episode. Bye, everybody. Like what you heard? Hit subscribe so you never miss a video. And if you're ready to take the first step toward becoming a copywriter yourself, sign up for a free video training right here.